already in that. I am a part of a lot of groups. I did not realize that. All right. So first off, I want to say hello to everyone who is joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me tonight. For those of you that don't know me, I want to introduce myself really quick. My name is Amber Nicole Speaks. I'm a trauma and confidence coach, and I'm basically here just to inspire women to live their best life, to heal, to also to make sure that you are showing up your best self every single day and making sure that you are walking in purpose and doing it with intentionality. And I pretty much help my clients get to that point. So tonight, if you see the subject, we're basically going to be talking about is why you're still broken. Because a lot of women I notice, and especially a lot of my clients, are walking around broke in, not broken in their pockets, but also broken in their heart. And they really just don't realize that. And so I'm going to give you guys, first off, I'm going to start with giving you guys some things for you to notice that this is why you're broken. Basically, because a lot of times people don't realize that you are broken. You really think that you've been out of that relationship or you've been out of that situation that you've gone through for a very long time, but you actually are still operating from a broken space. So I'll give you some things to let you know that actually you are still operating out of a broken space. And then I'm also going to give you some tips that's going to help you to start getting out of that mindset that you're in, getting out of that stuck moment that you're in. Because a lot of us, we just get comfortable with being stuck because we've been that way for so long. I'll help you guys get out of that stuck space. So, welcome everyone who's joining me. Also, another thing, this is a conversation. So I'm not just going to be throwing things at you, just speaking to you guys and just telling you what you need to do. This is a conversation. So if there's something that you're going through that you have questions about, make sure that you are chiming in and asking those questions, because I want you guys to know that I'm here for you. I'm not just trying to tell you what needs to be done, but I'm here to speak to you to help you guys grow and be your best self. And that's what this is going to be about tonight. So like I said, you hear, you see it, this is for the women. We're going to be talking about your healing, because it is your emotional healing is so important. And really, to be honest with you, women, your emotional healing is tied to how you show up in the world for everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. You when you're not emotionally healed, you go to jobs that you settle in that you really don't like, but you do it just for money. You get into relationships with men who are treating you okay, but not really adoring you like the queen that you are. You have friends that really don't help you elevate. You guys are kind of on the same path of just doing the same thing all the time, but not really elevating and growing. But a lot of this is tied to your emotional healing. You have not emotionally healed, so you don't see the greatness that you have inside of you. Therefore, you are settling in a position where you could be much better. You can be much better, but you are unconsciously and sometimes consciously making the decision to keep on just settling and being okay with just having just enough. I got a man, that's enough. Instead of saying, I have a man that treats me amazing. He adores me. He makes sure I'm good. He pours into me. We elevate each other. Like we are on this life journey together. But instead, you're just like, I got a man. He's my baby daddy, and that's all it is. You know, there's much difference in that, right? So a couple of things I'm going to start talking about first, like I said, is I want to discuss with you, how do you know if you are still broken? And I'm going to give you the first reason, what I find in a lot of my clients, as soon as they say this, I'm like, okay, there's still some brokenness in them when they come to me for confidence and for confidence help and trying to figure out why they keep showing up the same way. And that number one reason is they generalize all men. You heard me? So for those of you women that say things like all men are cheaters, there's no good men in the world. All men don't do this. Chivalry is dead. Men don't do that no more. All men want is this. When you say words like that, like all men are a certain way, when you're generalizing things like men in that category, it's usually because you're operating out of a broke space. And it's not because a broken space, my bad, but it's not because it's all men are that way. Of course, all men are not cheaters. All men do not treat women wrong. All men, of course, that's not the truth. But the problem is you've been picking those type of men. You've been picking men that cheat on you. You've been picking men who don't know how to truly take care of your heart. You've been picking men who you have children by, who half-ass take care of their kids, but he was giving you a little bit of something at the beginning, so you held on to that. So it's not all men are that way. It's who you choose and why you chose them. But I'm telling you, it's because of your emotional unhealthiness, because you have not emotionally healed from whatever it is. It could be father wounds or whatever the case may be, but you have not healed. So you are saying things like all men do this, and that's not the truth, because a lot of men, actually, I've come across a lot of good men, all men are not bad. So that's one big reason. If you are operating out of that space saying all men or something, then there is still some brokenness within you that I would say that you would book a session with me so we can talk about that, or you can go through and watch some of my videos on YouTube. Another thing that a lot of emotionally women do is they settle in relationships. So what you do is you find a man. Let's just give you an example. So you'll have a man, and at the beginning, he'll be like all amazing and great. And what man isn't? What I'm saying? In women too. That's how we show up. We show up with our representative. We show up as our best self, and he's giving you everything, and he's telling you, Queen, we gonna do this, and you the best, and just basically just knocking your socks off, right? He's just giving you all that you wanted to hear, and you like, dang, he fine, and he telling me what I needed to hear. So and you feel that way, right? But then little red flags start showing up. Maybe you see other women saying that maybe he talking to other women, right? Or maybe he start doing like iffy stuff. Like sometimes he ain't calling you and checking in with you. You know what I mean? Little things might start, maybe he says he got to be here and you find out he's somewhere else. Like red flags that we just always ignore at the beginning of the relationship, because instead of you paying attention to what he really is, his true character, you're paying attention to the things that you wanted to see in him instead of who he really is as a whole person. And that's because you are so guided on just wanting to be in a relationship that you think you're okay with giving the little pieces that he's given you. Also in toxic relationships, this is not just when at the beginning of the relationship, this is also I find in a lot of toxic relationships, because I've dealt with this too. I've been in a toxic relationship before where we've spent years and years and years in a relationship. And instead of me walking out of that relationship, my ego says that I can do everything I need to do to make him be who I want him to be. And that's really my ego, but not just my ego saying that. That's also me operating. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. That's also me operating out of a broken space, where instead of me finding leaving that relationship, I'm trying to do everything I can to find value in that relationship. So I want him to validate me. I want him to value me. I want him to tell me that he loves me, because when you tell me you love me and you treat me like you love me at times, I'm not saying consistently, I'm saying sometimes, I hold on to those little bit of good times that you give me instead of really looking at the totality of the relationship. And the totality of the relationship is he didn't treat me right. He disrespected me. He was a cheater. So instead of me looking at the whole totality of things, I'm looking at, well, sometimes he treats me like he loves me. Sometimes he buys me flowers, maybe, you know what I mean? So I'm holding on to those little bits and pieces of what he's given me versus the totality of the relationship. And the totality was he was abusive. He was verbally abusive. He was a cheater, like I said. So us women, when you don't get your emotional health in line, when you don't heal from brokenness, you deal with men that just give you a little piece of something. You get crumbs because you try to find your value in that relationship. You try to find value and worth in that relationship. And you really feel like if you leave that relationship, you no longer have value anymore. You no longer see your worth if you're not with him because he's giving you your worth instead of saying, I'm worthy without that man. I love me without him. I'm okay if I don't have this. So you stick around being with someone who's really not giving you your best, giving you their best. I got a couple of things written down, so I want to make sure that I'm able to say everything that I want to say to you guys. Another thing that women do is when you're operating out of a space of not valuing yourself is you use sex. And what you think you're doing is like, I'll have sex with this man, I'll sleep with that man, I'll sleep with whoever I want to. Instead of you finding like someone who truly loves you, you just say, you know what? I'm not about to be dating no more. Like I done been hurt too many times. My wall is up here. I got snipers and everything at the building. So any man that tries to come to me, I ain't feeling him like that. Nope, I'm good. You know, you thugging it out here. You okay with just, give me a little piece of something. We gonna smash a little bit. But after that, you got to go. That's all I want. And that mindset is also operating out of a broken space because you have been hurt so many times now that you feel like there are no good men in the world. And instead of you processing that pain and really realizing and understanding why you went through that, you pretty much are using sex, which is people, to self-medicate yourself. So now I'm medicating on men and they're my temporary medicine, but you're going to keep sleeping with men over and over and over and over again. But I promise you, you'll never be able to get that fulfillment that you truly need because the fulfillment comes from within. It doesn't come from anybody on the outside. So that's another thing for women that we operate out of, using sex. And then the final one that we do is we basically get into relationships. And then when we find a good man, we just self-sabotage. We sabotage it before it even starts. We're like, you know what? This is too good to be true. Ain't no way no man this good. Like, what's his motive? What does he really want? Like, we looking at like him side eye, like, he can't possibly want me like that. You know what I'm saying? So what you do is you sabotage it. So you do all these things instead of you giving your full heart. What you do is you mentally sabotage. So every little thing that he might be doing, you're making that such a big deal. And he sees that, of course. And then it starts causing conflict in the relationship. And then you start saying, see, I knew it was too good to be true. When really you're causing problems in situations that are not even there, or they're so small and minute, but you're making them into big situations because you're operating out of a broken space. So you have this good man in your life who could potentially be the best relationship that you can possibly be in, but you're like, you know what? You're so used to rejection because the men that you really wanted to be with rejected you when, like I said, those men weren't good for you in the first place, but they rejected you. So now this good man that's in your life, you're like, well, he's probably going to do the same thing. So basically what you're trying to do is rush to the end so that you can reject him first, basically. So here you are is hurting a good man and ending a good relationship. And then you're like, see, I knew it was too good to be true. I knew he wasn't who he said he was, when really he was who he said he was, but you treated him like a bitch. Basically, you just wasn't the person. You had these walls up. You didn't treat him right. So he finally walked out and left you. And it was your fault for the most part, but you don't know how to take accountability for your actions because you've been hurt so much that you just think somebody's just supposed to be in your life and take everything. And that's just not how it goes. Like, you have to be able to, it has to be some reciprocity. You have to be able to be open up and operate out of a whole space, a space of love and peace and joy where you guys are loving on each other. He's not just trying to love you and you're not giving the same thing in return. So those are the things I want to tell you guys about, like the broken space. If you're operating out of a broken space, those are just some of the things that I find very common in the women that I coach is they do those things. And now I'm going to give you guys some tips that you can do to help you not be that way anymore. So number one is that you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am valuable with just me. You have to find peace from within. You have to know that you are worthy without anybody else around. Maybe you're alone, but you're not lonely just because you're single and you're by yourself. Until you can find peace where you are, no matter where that is, until you can find peace in that space, you'll never be able to have the husband that you want to have. Here's another thing that I find all the time. A lot of women are talking about how, oh, I want to find a husband. I want to find a husband. I want to find a husband. But like I said, your wall is so high that you couldn't give your husband the things that he needs anyway. So why do you want to be married when you can't even give your husband the things that he needs? It's going to be a pointless marriage, and that marriage is going to end anyways, because you're not ready. You have not done the work on you to heal the broken parts of you. So anyways, like I said, you need to start finding peace where you are, wherever it is. It doesn't matter where you are. Like, stop looking at all the things that are negative about you and start appreciating the things that are great about you. I'm a great speaker. I'm great at my job. I'm always on time. I'm kind. I have a good heart. I'm a giver. Like all those features, all those things about you that God made you. You have to start appreciating those things about you instead of looking at all the things that maybe some men or whatever told you was bad about you, and now you're trying to fix that. Start focusing on the things that you really, really love about yourself. When you start really honing in on those things and focusing on these things versus the things that you don't like about yourself, I'm not saying that there is not work that needs to be done. I'm not saying that you shouldn't elevate and be better. What I'm saying is that when you're operating out of a space of I value myself, I know that I need to be better, but I'm still good where I am. I accept me for where I am right now, and then I'm growing along the way. And here are the things that I need to grow about myself. That is the first thing that you have to do, is you have to look in the mirror and say, girl, I love me. I love myself. I'm the bomb. Can't nobody else be me. This is how I show up. No one else looks like me. My personality, no one else has that. Like, God made you just like he needed you to be made. There is not another you. There's no carbon copy. You can't be made any other way. So you need to start appreciating who God made you. That's number one. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Number two, the second thing that I would say for you to do is start evaluating some of your negative self-talk and see where it came from. Where's the source of that? Was your mom telling you how you wasn't nothing, or your dad tell you that? Or was it a relationship that you were in, were saying like you chunky, you fat, you this, whatever they were saying about you? You don't have any common sense. You're not very smart. The things that the negative things that you think about yourself, where did that come from? Because we are not born to think negative about ourselves. Usually that comes from somebody that taught us that way. So think about that first. Where did that source come from? Why do I think about myself that way? Why am I so worried about why I want straight hair, but my hair is naturally curly? So I'm always straightening because that was actually one for me. That's simple, but I'm saying that was one for me. I hated my curly hair, I wanted straight hair, and especially when it was super long. Like, I don't want this curly big old Lion King bush. I'd rather have straight sleek long hair, right? So I hated it. So it wasn't until I became an adult that I really started liking my curly hair. So I mean, simple things. That's just simple, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, think about the things that you think negative about yourself and where did it come from. Once you find the source of where did that negativity come from, once you find the source of your pain, basically, who pained you, where did that come from, who hurt you, where did that hurt come from? When you find that, write that down. Write down that person's name. This came from this bad relationship I was in. He used to tell me how I didn't have common sense. He used to tell me I wasn't smart. He used to tell me things like I was nothing but a pretty face. Write that down. And those are actually things that I used to hear from my past relationship. You're nothing but a pretty face. You're not very smart, So write those things down and who said it, and then forgive that person. You have to be able to forgive the person that hurt you. Because as long as you keep holding on and pointing the finger at the man that hurt you, the dad that left you, the mom that didn't raise you right, as long as you keep holding on to those things, you will never be able to become the full, complete person that God made you to be, because you keep holding on to past hurt, past pain, and you have abandonment issues because your dad left you. So now every man that walks into your life, you think he's going to leave you. So now you try to do everything you can to try to keep him from leaving you because of your abandonment issues, when really that's your stuff that you need to work on. Think about those things, those painful things that you really have to deal with. And I know it's hard, which is why a lot of people don't do it, which is, it's more comfortable to show up and be mad and be a thug and I'm good, I'm fine, I ain't got to worry about none of that. It's much easier to have that attitude than it is to really deal with, like, man, my dad did leave me when I was 6 years old. My mom did have a gambling addiction. I pretty much had to raise myself from the age of 12. You know, it's difficult to have to be in those moments. It's difficult to have to face some of the hard stuff that you went through in your life. But until you are able to face you, until you're able to get to a point where you're okay with who you are and forgiving the people who hurt you, you're going to keep showing up the same way all the time. You're going to keep picking bad men and saying that all men are bad, when really you just keep making bad choices. You're going to keep on doing that. You have to be the one to forgive the person who hurt you, who are people. A lot of times it's multiple people. It starts in childhood, and then from childhood, it gets into relationships. But until you can forgive them, until you can, number one, value yourself, find peace in who you are, wherever you are, I don't care where it is. Number two, forgive the person who hurt you. And number three, learn who you are. That's another thing I find that's common, is that I will ask a woman, who are you? And here's the answer I would get. I'm a mom, I'm a nurse, I work here, I do this. Those are things that you do. That's not who you are. Who are you? When you figure out who you are, because that's a lot of times why you're getting these wrong relationships. You don't even know who you are. So if you don't even know you, how are you going to find a man to even know you and love you for you when you don't even know who you are? What do you like to do? When your kids are not involved, what do you like to do with just yourself? When my kids aren't with me, this is what I like to do. I like to sit and watch movies and drink wine. I'll take myself to the movies sometimes. You know, when I don't have kids to worry about, I know what I love. I like reading. You know, what are some of the things that you like to do? Who are you? I'm a giver. I'm an empath. I love people. I love helping. I love serving. That's who I am. I love empowering women to grow and be their best self. That's me. Who are you? So those three things. Number one, find peace in who you are. Number two, forgive the people who hurt you. And number three, learn who you are. Those are the top three things that you need to do. That's not all you need to do, but those are the most three common things that I find that women need to do to start to start healing the brokenness that they have inside of them. And that's what really helps you really start growing in who you are. It helps you in finding your purpose, because once you know who you are, then you find your purpose. Once I realized that I love empowering women, coaching and speaking became my purpose. Writing books became my purpose. But I didn't find my purpose until I learned Amber. Who is Amber? When I found Amber, then I found my purpose. Then me and God got into alignment with what I do now. Then all the blessings started pouring down. But first, it started with me. First, it started with loving myself, doing the work on me, growing the little girl within inside of me, because there was a little girl that had a lot of brokenness and a lot of unhealing. I had to deal with that. And a lot of women don't do that work. You have to deal with that too. All right. So if you got a quick thing as well, if you guys are reading the cross, you see the link. I just launched my Courageous Confidence digital course. It was a live course, but I launched a digital course so that you can have it forever. You can click the link right up there and purchase that course. That course, it will go through some of the stuff I talked about, but it also goes in more in-depth detail of things that you need to do. Because a lot of times I know that you can't afford my one-on-one coaching, and that's okay. But you could afford this digital course. What I find is that women who invest in themselves go further. And if you are unwilling to invest in yourself, then you are unwilling to elevate and be better. You have to invest in who you are. So go ahead and download that course. Go ahead and get that. It'll really, really help you start elevating the next level and getting to where you need to be. So I'm gonna take the next couple of minutes. If any of you guys have any questions that you want to ask, anything about the topic that we're talking about, I would love that. Also, another thing, tomorrow, I have my Let's Talk Fridays, the first Let's Talk Fridays that I'm going to be doing in 2021. And that Let's Talk Fridays tomorrow is going to be about your circle, basically. Who's in your circle? How important your circle is in elevating and becoming your best self. And if your circle is not very good, where you are in life. Because where you are in life determines your circle determines where you're going to go in life. So tomorrow, that's the topic that we're going to be talking about on Let's Talk Fridays, and that's going to be at 8:30 tomorrow night. So tune in for that one as well. Is there any questions while we're sitting here, while I'm waiting, that anybody have to ask? I would love to answer any questions that anyone has at this time. Again, go purchase that Courageous Confidence course. It is so important that you gain or regain, because some people never had confidence. So it's gain or regain the confidence that you may have lost in yourself. And that Courageous Confidence course is really, really going to help you regain that confidence you have in yourself. I think it's about 2.5 hours long. So I really dive deep into a lot of things that we deal with. And I really help you, give you a step-by-step on what you need to do to elevate your life, to find the husband that adores you, to elevate your finances, to get out of the broken space of stuck and I just don't know what I want to do. Like that, my Courageous Confidence course, I really dive deep into that. So purchase that, get that now. Like that'll really, really help you. 2021 needs to be your year of investing in yourself and becoming the woman that you know you can be and creating the queendom. Yes, I said queendom, creating your queendom, because you can create the life that you want, but you have to be serious about it. All right. And if there's no questions, then I'm going to hop on off. I thank you guys for listening. Again, tomorrow, 8:30 p.m., Let's Talk Fridays. We're going to be talking about your circle and how important it is for you. All right. I enjoy you guys. Thank you for listening. Peace and joy and prosperity to each and every one of you. Mwah, mwah. Bye.